Hello everyone and welcome back to TowerGate. It is TowerGate day number 670, 670, January the 31st, 2019, Thursday. Thank you so much for tuning in. Oh, I just want January to end. Please. Oh my goodness, had enough of it. Tired of shoveling snow, freezing my butt off. Tired of it. Ready for some warmth. Fire up that grill. That's right. Okay, my friends, let's continue kind of almost, unfortunately, where we left off yesterday. So yesterday I told you that the state of New York, under Mario the Pious, has now signed into law the ability for a woman in the state of New York to get an abortion at the moment, up until the moment of birth. And I never thought the Democrats would actually go this far. I never thought they would actually go this far. I'd heard some of the real wingnuts on the far left, but even during the height of the, the debate between abortion or anti-abortion or whatever, you would never really hear a mainstream, mainline, top tier Democrat come out and actually even breathe this. You know, this is not something you would hear from the top. You would hear it from the fringe. But here we are in the year 2019, and we actually have a governor who has just signed into law a law that will allow you to have an abortion up until the moment before birth. This is how bad it's gotten with the commie-crats. Every time that you think they can't possibly go this far, they do. And I'm sad to report to you that it's now gone one step farther. Just 2 days after Mario the Pious signs that bill into law, we get this Virginia governor, Ralph Northam, who comes out advocating for post-birth abortion. Post-birth abortion? What the hell is that? Post-birth abortion. Post-birth would mean the child's been born. Therefore, it's not an abortion anymore. The child's been born. They used to argue, well, is it just an egg at this point, or is it a human? Is it an egg or a human? What is it? At which point? Now, they don't even give a damn. They'll take a completely ready-to-go healthy baby just a moment before birth and kill it too. But now they go one step farther and say, just go ahead and rip it out of the womb and then kill it. That's not abortion. That's murder. It's murder. At what point do you think that they'll come out and say, well, since we can go ahead and murder a child after it's been born, why do we have a time limit on that? I mean, let's face it. Maybe you have a baby, you think you want a baby, the baby gets about 6 months or a year old, it's making lots of noise, keeping you up at night, you're changing a lot of diapers, you're not a fan of that, things haven't worked out with the father or the mother or whatever, and so you decide, this ain't working out. I think I'll just off the kid. There we go. No problem. Yes, I know you're... Mike, that's ridiculous. Now you're going too far. Really? Really? If even 10 years ago I would have said there's going to be a major state in the country, a governor in a major state in this country is going to sign a law allowing an abortion of the moment before birth, you would have said, oh, that's going too far. You're crazy. And then it happened. And now I'm telling you that there's a governor from Virginia who is advocating. Now, I understand this was shot down, thank God, but they're coming back, advocating for post-birth abortion. And if you succeed at getting post-birth abortion, and they'll not quit, it may take them 10 years to get it, but eventually, if things continue as they are, they will. In a state like California, or Washington, or Oregon, or New York, or Connecticut, or New Hampshire, or somewhere like that. They'll actually approve a law like this. And then the issue becomes, okay, is there a time limit after birth? Do we have to wait You know, like we have to do the death, we have to do the murder within 5 minutes of birth, or do we have to wait 5 weeks, or can we wait 5 years? Can we kill the child? How about when the child is about 14? You know, having a lot of problems, not really getting along, having issues. I'm just sick of this 14-year-old kid. It's way too much. And you think I'm joking. Keep watching. More Nelly Ore transcripts leaked, this time to Daily Caller. So we have somebody, obviously, it appears to be a white hat. We assume it's a white hat. There's somebody leaking. They were leaking to Jeff Carlson, John Solomon, Lee Smith, and now someone leaks to the Daily Caller. Not the entire transcript. Yesterday we get just a small portion of transcript. Today we get some more. I assume tomorrow we'll get some more. Eventually we'll get the whole Nelly Ore transcript. So we learn from the newest Nelly Ore transcripts that she did opposition research on Ivanka and Don Jr., focusing on their business and travel. Business and travel. And she did this while working for Fusion GPS. She also says that Christopher Steele did pass materials from the dossier to her husband, Bruce. She also says that Glenn Simpson passed a thumb drive to her husband, Bruce. And she said another thumb drive had been passed from Simpson to her. Then she passed it on to Bruce, and he passed it on to his FBI handler. So if you look at this Nelly Ore testimony and you look at it and because if you go back about 7-8 months ago, 9 months ago, there was a lot of focus on these people getting into the FBI database, the NSA database, through the FBI systems, and private contractors. It turned out we learned about this from the 99-page FISA court document from Judge Collier, and we're trying to figure out who these people are and why they're doing it. And we just get more and more evidence, and it's becoming more and more obvious that Nelly Ore was obviously one of the people, one of the contractors working for the CIA who was in that NSA database using the FBI systems. It's becoming more and more obvious that Nelly Ore was one of those individuals and probably working for Confusion GPS. And we know that began in November of 2015. Somewhere around the end of 2015. November, somewhere in that range. So, when you continue to look at all the things that have come out, drip, 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 over the past 9 months or so, it's becoming obvious that Nelly Ore was one of the people accessing the NSA database to get raw data. And it's becoming more and more likely, and almost certain at this point, that she was passing it to Christopher Steele. She may have been passing it directly or indirectly. Remember, she got herself a ham radio. It's very likely that she was using a ham radio through a digital network to communicate with Christopher Steele and give him information she was learning from these searches in the NSA database, which is how they confused Michael Cohen with another Michael Cohen who actually did visit Prague. It's also probably the way that she passed information to Christopher Steele about the activities of Ivanka and Trump Jr. And it's very likely a lot of information passed to Steele, whether it was through an intermediary or using her ham radio through a digital interface, how she was forwarding information to Christopher Steele. And just as I said many videos ago, well over a year ago, that Christopher Steele was nothing more than the launderer. He was laundering intelligence. They needed somebody who they could use his credentials, somebody with cred that they could say, yes, this is our source. Former FBI, former British intelligence official, head of the Russia desk, worked with the FBI in this. He's well respected. Give all these great credentials so they could use that, because they couldn't just pump it through Nelly Ore and Glenn Simpson and the Rotten Reverend Clinton and Mr. Sussman and Perkins Coie directly into the FBI. That would have been too obvious, even though they did it anyway. We weren't supposed to find that out because Hillary wasn't supposed to lose, but now we know. So it's obvious that the plan was to use Christopher Steele as nothing more than a laundromat. And he was the launderer. He was laundering intelligence. And then the whole thing blew up, and he found himself right in the middle of all of it. He wasn't even supposed to be known. None of this was ever supposed to come up. Trump was supposed to lose. This was supposed to be successful. Christopher Steele was the launderer, laundering intelligence for Clinton and the FBI and Confusion GPS. They were digging for raw data via Nelly and then passing it over to the launderer, Christopher Steele, who would then send out his goons to try to build a story, a narrative around the raw data. He would put that into a package, and he would ship it directly to the FBI. Apparently, one of the ways, primary ways, was directly through Nelly's husband. Right through the back door. Out the front door and in the back door. Into the same house. It was an intelligence laundering operation. It's becoming so obvious, man. So, probably the most important thing, not the most important thing, because there's very many important things that we can take from the Bruce and Nelly Ore, and we're getting more and more of the Nelly Ore stuff, and I expect we'll get more of the Bruce Ore stuff as well, is that they, between the two of them, and they agree, they were passing this information on to the FBI in the summer of 2016, late summer of 2016. Look how many FBI and intelligence officials, and including Confusion GPS's Glenn Simpson. Glenn Simpson said that he never met with Ore until after Thanksgiving. That's the end of November, 3 weeks after the election. But we know from Bruce Ore, he was meeting with Glenn Simpson long before that. And Christopher Steele. He lied to Congress. Do you think that they're going to SWAT raid Glenn Simpson? Here they have him red-handed, lying. Take a look at his testimony to Congress, and take a look at the statement of Bruce and Nelly Ore. Glenn Simpson lying his ass off, caught red-handed. Or Bruce and Nelly are lying. I tend to believe Bruce and Nelly. Not just Glenn Simpson caught lying. It's McCabe, Strzok, Page, Comey, Brennan, Clapper, the whole damn crew. Their timeline is about 2.5 months off the timeline of Bruce and Nelly Ore. And it's not just me pointing this out. It's other people, including Catherine Herridge on Fox News. She did a report last night on Fox News and says, yeah, looking at the Bruce and Nelly Ore stuff, and then we look at the testimony of Comey and McCabe and Strzok and Page, we got a big problem. It's called the timeline of when they were getting this dossier material and when they were interacting with Steele. And there's about a 2.5 to 3 month gap. Some folks are lying their asses off. I do hope Mr. Barr is an honest man. Because this is blatant. This is obvious. I mean, this is not even close. And where is Christopher No Shit Sherlock Ray? Where is Rodenstein? How about Uncle Bob? Here we have being published in the major media, in newspapers, TV, corporate media. The truth. The obvious discrepancies and the lies under oath in testimony to congressional committees. These people should all be getting SWAT raided. But it's crickets. Mr. Barr says he believes in equal justice under the law. We're going to find out in very short order. We surely are. Lindsey Graham. He wants an FBI briefing on the Stone raid, the Roger Stone raid. Yes. I guess they're going to drag Christopher No Shit Sherlock Ray in and ask him a few questions, right? Christopher No Shit Sherlock Ray should be fired immediately. I would have fired him. I would have fired him. As soon as I saw that Stone raid, after the Manafort raid, and all the other things that we've seen from the FBI, at this point, I would have no choice. I don't know how Trump can resist. I would call Ray and Rodenstein in my office, along with Whitaker, he's the acting AG, and I would force Christopher Ray to come up with some very, very good answers real fast. You better have some damn good reasons for this kind of crap that's going on. And why haven't you cleaned up all the lies? Why haven't you cleaned up all these perps, former FBI people, who we have on record, proof, absolute 100% proof that they lied under oath? We haven't seen a single damn one of them be prosecuted. We know what they were involved in. You aren't doing anything to clean that place up. And then you pull off this SWAT raid. And isn't it funny how every time some damaging information to your agency comes out, we get a freaking SWAT raid on somebody? I tell Mr. Ray he better do some serious explaining. I'd fire his ass right now. And I would tell him, dude, I'm going to investigate this. And if I find there were crimes committed and you are aware of them, and you have to be, I'm going to arrest you first for obstructing covering up the crimes. Covering up the crime is as bad as being a part of it. And let's not forget, we just found out yesterday how Christopher No Shit Sherlock Ray became FBI director. We found out that it was Crispy. That's right, because it was No Shit Sherlock Ray who was the defense attorney for Chris Crispy in that little Bridgegate fiasco. And he won the case. And then, when Trump needed an FBI director, it was Chris Crispy that called him up and said, "Hey, Mr. President, I know the perfect guy to be your FBI director. Great lawyer, he just got me off the hook, and I'm crooked as hell. What you need is Christopher No Shit Sherlock Ray to be your FBI director, Mr. President. I personally vouch for him." And based on the word of Chris Crispy, Trump made Christopher No Shit Sherlock Ray the director of the Federal Bureau of I'm With Her, so he could continue the cover-up and the fraud and the crimes. I'm starting to get angry. Trey Gowdy has signed a contract with Fox News as a legal analyst. I'm not sure why. He's like the guy that went to the Super Bowl. Who's the guy from the Buffalo Bills? Went to the Super Bowl 4 times. Jim, what's his name? Nice guy, good quarterback. Went to the Buffalo Bills. Went to the Super Bowl 4 times and lost them all, if I remember correctly. I may be incorrect on that, but anyway, that's kind of what it reminds me of. Gowdy, head of the Benghazi committee hearings, all that evidence got Hillary Clinton literally red-handed. I could have prosecuted that case and got a victory. Somehow, Gowdy lets her wiggle off the hook. Then he's on this oversight committee, Spygate. We're uncovering this information every single day. Enough evidence that I could go into court as a non-lawyer and win this in a slam dunk. Gowdy, not a single perp. Yet this guy lands a Fox News contract as a legal analyst. He can analyze, he can tell us how you can be a tough prosecutor without ever getting a single damn conviction. Wonderful. Now I know a lot of us have a lot of South Carolina supporters on this channel, and a lot of them like Trey Gowdy, and that's fine. I mean, I have no problem with Trey Gowdy personally. I mean, I don't have beef against him or anything. I'm just saying that I've watched him on a lot of these committees, and I've never seen him get any real good results. I'm looking for results. I mean, I don't care if he goes and makes a boatload of money working for the law firm he worked for before the Clintons plucked him off to be a U.S. attorney or whatever, prosecutor. I mean, it's all good and well. I just prefer to, I prefer people who actually get convictions for the criminals. So Ocasio-Cortez is now fundraising after being threatened with a primary challenge. Yes, that's exactly how it works. So now she's going to have to go out and take money from all those people that she's been railing against forever. And pretty soon they'll own her. So as I said, one of two things will happen to Cortez. Either she'll decide that she likes her cushy little position in Washington as a congressperson, and she'll take the money and fall in line. Or she'll continue to be, a wildcat in the herd, and they'll get rid of her. They'll primary her and beat her. Play the game, fall in line, or we take you out. She's about to find out how things work in the swamp. Important news. A federal judge has just ordered the release of dozens of documents that may have been kept under seal during Buzzfeed's lawsuit over the Steele dossier. This is a lawsuit of Mr. Gubarev versus Buzzfeed. Mr. Gubarev, of course, was the man who owned the company that was accused by Christopher Steele in the dossier of doing the physical hacking for Putin. And of course, he filed a defamation suit. He ended up losing that suit because the judge ruled that the story was newsworthy, and therefore, because it was newsworthy, publishing the dossier was okay. But what's important here is that during the discovery process, there was a great many witnesses interviewed that we would like to hear from. And we've never been able to hear from them. But now the judge has ruled that all of that information from the discovery process must be made available by February the 8th. 9 days from now. All that stuff will be made available to the public. Now remember, it was through the discovery process that we found out that David Kramer is the one who gave BuzzFeed the dossier. David Kramer being the right-hand man of the late Senator Magoo. Something tells me that there's going to be a lot of embarrassing and incriminating information in these discovery documents, and that they will serve to be especially embarrassing to the family of Senator Magoo. Senator Magoo, his past is going to catch up with him, believe me. When this whole story is done and it's told and everyone knows, Senator Magoo's reputation, along with many others, will be mud. Worse than that, it will be shit. So, I'm looking forward to those discovery documents, and I'm assure you that there's a boatload of people will be waiting in line for that. Tom Fitton, probably Solomon, Lee Smith, Bongino, everybody's going to be waiting for these documents to come out on the 8th, because there's going to be some serious information. Because when you look at the list of people who were interviewed in the discovery process in that Gubarev versus Buzzfeed, there's a lot of DNC officials in there. Wasserman Schultz, I don't even know, maybe the Rotten Reverend, we don't know for sure, but it's a possibility. Certainly probably people in her campaign, Robbie Mook, possibly Podesta. There's a lot of people like that from the DNC, on the DNC side of things, that were probably interviewed. Of course, Mr. Kramer, possibly Magoo himself. There's going to be some very embarrassing, if not incriminating, things that come out in these documents 9 days from now. We'll be certainly looking forward to that. Judicial Watch has sued the Department of Justice for records of former FBI General Counsel James Baker's communications with Christopher Steele. I thought he already did that, but yeah, I mean, obviously you want to do that. And again, these are documents that Nunes has tried to get a hold of, Jordan and Meadows have tried to get a hold of. We'll see if Judicial Watch wins this lawsuit and whether or not they can get these documents. Now, of Currently, we know that former FBI General Counsel Jim Baker is under criminal investigation by this U.S. attorney in somewhere up on the East Coast. What, Connecticut? Yeah, Connecticut. There's a Connecticut U.S. attorney who specializes in investigating mobsters, by the way, and in corrupt government officials. He is currently investigating Baker. That might create some problem with getting these documents, but I'm sure that Judicial Watch will give it their best shot. Well, it looks like the Office of the Inspector General, Huckleberry Horowitz office, has announced that it has found misconduct by 2 current senior FBI officials. Misconduct by 2 current senior FBI officials and 1 retired FBI official. The name of these officials has not been released. Misconduct. You know, Charles Manson was guilty of misconduct, wouldn't you agree? How about Jeffrey Dahmer? Do you think Jeffrey Dahmer was guilty of misconduct? How about Brutus? Was he guilty of misconduct? There's a lot of people that are guilty of misconduct, don't you think? The Undersecretary of Defense, John Rood, R-O-O-D, was testifying in Congress today, and he stated in his testimony that President Trump does not need congressional approval or to declare a national emergency to build a border wall with Mexico. And he read the law to them and explained it to them. It's 10 U.S.C. 284. Because of the crime, the drugs pouring across the border, President can build the damn wall. And he doesn't need to declare a national emergency. And he doesn't need the permission of Nancy and Chuck. Or any Democrat. None. He made that testimony today under oath in Congress. My. There you go. Yeah, and this story about Catherine Herridge that I mentioned just a few minutes ago. Catherine Herridge was on Fox last night. She was doing a special report on the lying about the timeline. People, many FBI, DOJ officials who, Fusion GPS people, have been asked about when they were getting this dossier information, the Christopher Steele information, and they're putting the date back somewhere around October, late September, October, when we find out, just as Catherine Herridge is saying, that Bruce and Nelly were sharing this information with McCabe, Peter's been stroking us, Lisa Page, as well as DOJ officials, Mr. Weissman, and Miss Ahmad, who are now both on the Mueller team, as well as Bruce Schwartz. And they were doing this 2.5 months, almost 3 months really, almost 3 months before all these other folks say that they learned of the Steele dossier information. The timeline has gone to hell, my friends, and somebody's lying. Straight up. There should be a lot of SWAT raids coming, don't you think? Misconduct. Misconduct. That's nice. Very nice. Mr. Manson, you are guilty of misconduct. Mr. Dahmer, I don't know how many people you had for dinner, but that was bad conduct. In fact, it was misconduct, Mr. Dahmer. There's been a recent release of FBI documents which show that in the days after the Comey firing, there was a mad dash by the Department of Justice to get their hands on documents that Comey had in his office. Many items were found, as in dozens of items were found, including one which was labeled white binder. And on that white binder, marked on that white binder, was Clinton emails. Clinton emails in a special white binder in Comey's office. What do you think is in it? Well, I know you guys are sick of a lot of these Hollywood idiots. Time after time after time, we see their vile hate spewed on social media, but their accounts never seem to get suspended. That's okay, because they may have bigger problems. I'm not talking about getting their Twitter accounts suspended. Their big problem is the fact that they went after these high school kids from Covington Catholic, who were minors, by the way, and who didn't do what they were accused of. Some very vile comments by a lot of people against these minors, which caused them a lot of problems, including possible injury. And therefore, there should be some damages paid by the perps. Now, a lot of these people think they're too high and mighty to get sued. But they got a big problem, because I think I went through the lawyer who's now taken the case. Of course, Lin Wood. Now, you can Google him for yourself. I mean, you can take a look at the track record of Mr. Wood. He is a serious attorney. He's not a clown. There's a lot of clowns offering to represent people for free and want some publicity, and he's not an Avenatti. He's not something like that. This is a seriously high-level, very, very good defense attorney. He doesn't just take bullshit cases. He only takes real big cases. He's the guy who got the, remember the guy in Atlanta who was accused of putting a bomb in the garbage can? Richard Jewell, I think his name was. He's the one who I think in fact, I think it was his first major, really big case that he did, that he got public, everyone who knew who he was and learned who he was based on his representation, I think, of Mr. Jewell. Got him off and won him a huge settlement. Then he went on to work on literally another 24 major high-profile cases, and his track record is really, really good. He wins about 98% of the time. He does a lot of these types of cases, but he's also been involved in some serious, hardcore federal cases as well, that are cases of like this event with Richard Jewell. But he's been on both sides. He's been a prosecutor. He's now a defense attorney. This is a guy that you do not want digging into your shit, because this is a guy who's very high-powered. He has a lot of money, a lot of resources, a big law firm, and he's a winner. He knows how to win these cases. This is his specialty. You do not want Lin Wood up your ass. Let me give you the list of people. First of all, his main target right now is Bill Maher. Bill Maher, of course, better lawyer up, and I'm sure he already has. And if you saw his vile statements, there's no doubt in my mind he's going to be paying Mr. Sandman, Nick Sandman. He's going to be paying Nick Sandman. No doubt in my mind. But also on his list is Kathy Griffin, the USA Today, Andrea Mitchell, the Washington Post, Maggie Haberman of the New York Times, Esquire Magazine, S.E. Cupp, and Tom Watson. All these individuals are on his list. And there's another attorney also representing them who's got some credibility, but not like Lin Wood. I mean, this guy's top notch. But there's another attorney sort of on his own representing, I think, the school itself. And he's going after Michael Rappaport and Alyssa Milano and a few other people like that. So there's a lot of these Hollywood idiots and some reporters who are going to be writing a very, very large check to Mr. Sandman and his family and some of these other boys at this Catholic high school. I think they stuck it. They messed around with this guy, and he's a minor. He's under 18, and that's their fatal mistake on this one. This one is going to cost a lot of these people not just a lot of money, but their reputation certainly, and many of these people probably going to lose their careers as well, and they should. These are some nasty, vile people. Lin Wood is a man that you do not want digging in your shit. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll be back tomorrow with more TowerGate. You guys have a good night. See you. Bye.